360,000 pancakes. Now that's a lot of eating, that's a lot of chewing, that's a lot of calories. 360,000. 360,000 cars to wash. Do you know how many gallons of water that would take and how long it would take you to wash 360,000 cars? $360,000. That's a lot of money. No matter how you cut it, it's a lot of money. 360,000 people. Do you realize that if they were socially distanced at 6 feet apart, 360,000 people would make a line 410 miles long? My friend, that's how many people have been moving into the state of Florida every year for the last 2 years. But you know what? They're not all staying. And today I'm going to give you some suggestions as to why many of those people who moved here to fulfill their dreams and aspirations of finally getting to move to Florida as a residence discouraged them and they moved back. Would you do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, turn on your notifications so that every Tuesday at 6 a.m. you'll get the new notification of when I produce something else. And let's get to the point today of talking about why people are moving to Florida, but not all of them are staying. Reason number one that people come to Florida: it's almost impossible to find people who have moved to Florida who don't in some way say, well, the weather was just perfect. It's referred to as paradise weather, it's perfect weather, etc. But the fact is, it's not perfect weather. And what brought people here, being the weather, is oftentimes what causes people to leave. You see, because they came down here on vacation in January, February, or March, and the temperature was somewhere between 72 and 80 degrees. It was beautiful. There was a breeze blowing. Then they came down here after retirement, or they decided, you know what, I'm going to live wherever I want to live because I can work from home now. And you know what happened? They came down, and now they were here for the very first time in June, July, and August, when that temperature rose up to the 90s every single day, sometimes 96, 98, and the humidity was all the way up into the high 80s and low 90 percentile as well. So the weather that brought them here, I drove them home. Where you have tropical sunshine and warm weather and lots of rain, you always have flowers and trees that are in full bloom. When you have those type of options, you have a lot of allergens in the air. The pollen is heavy, and people who suffer from allergies, they suffer, and that contributes to them going home. If you are a Four Seasons lover up in the parts of the states where you can see the buds of spring blossom and the crocuses come up through the snow, you can enjoy the leaves turning to bright fall colors. You know, those 4 seasons are going to go away because down in Florida you don't have 4 seasons, you have 2 seasons. You have dry season and you have wet season. And I'm telling you, when it's wet, it's really wet. You can expect rain every day. No, it's not going to rain a lot. It's going to rain probably for 1 hour, maybe for 10 minutes. You may have an occasional day with none in July and August, but you're going to get a lot of wet weather. And then in dry weather, you can pretty much plan on a picnic every day. 4 seasons turn into 2. Some people don't like that. And so the alternative is, you know what, I think I'm going home. Some people are afraid of storms. They have phobias. They don't like hurricanes. And friends, you're not going to have water that's shallow like is in the Sarasota Bay. And even on the Gulf of Mexico, the water's shallow for a good bit of distance. It warms up easily, and then you have these 90-degree temperatures. And then you have these swirling winds, high humidity. It's hurricane season. It's hurricane weather. It's going to happen. Occasionally, you have these thunderstorms that blow in. Very, very rarely, but it does happen. You also have tornadoes. People who have phobias of storms don't like it here, so it's too much stress to every year be counting on, am I going to have to evacuate because of a hurricane? Now, all seriousness, in Sarasota, rarely in the last 100 years has anyone had to evacuate. So hurricanes are not a big issue, but if you have a fear that it's going to be an issue, you're going to react according to your perception of the truth rather than the truth itself. Weather brings people here and it causes people to leave. Can you define bad traffic or heavy traffic? No, you can't, because it is a relative term. If you grew up in a town of 5,500 people, like I did, your idea of heavy traffic is when there's 4 or 5 cars waiting at the street light in town. And by the way, in my hometown, there was 1 traffic light in the whole city. But if you move to New York City, your idea of heavy traffic is much different. You've got 6 lanes of traffic, and then the cabbies are trying to make 7. And so heavy traffic is defined relatively. Here in Florida, you're going to have traffic that most people would describe as heavy all 12 months of the year, but then you have January, February, and March, which are referred to as the seasonal heavy season months. That's when the snowbirds come down from Canada and the northern states, and then the traffic gets really heavy. And so many people say, enough of this. I do not want to spend my time trying to get from one place to another fighting traffic like this. And so what do? They pack up and they move back to the north, and they come down here maybe as snowbirds or maybe as occasional vacationers, but the frustration of traffic is just too much, and it causes many who lived here at one time to say, enough is enough, I am going home. Reason number 3 people are moving away from Florida is the snakes, the alligators, the spiders, the fire ants, the insects that you're just not used to seeing in the north. And so if you have a phobia of spiders, I can tell you this, I have never seen a black widow spider here. I've never seen a brown recluse spider here, but I do know this. Any spider that you'd expect to see in the Amazon jungle, or anything that you'd expect to see in the wilds of Africa, you can expect to find in this tropical rainforest area called Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch area of Florida. So behind me is a pond. It's the pond that's directly behind my house. Over my right shoulder, you can see a lawn there. And I have seen 3 alligators all at the same time out bathing, sunbathing on that green grass. I have seen only 1 snake. It was a water moccasin. It was not here, but it was on a golf course actually near a body of water. Fire ants are the things that have caused me the most problem because I do my own lawn. And it seems like every time I go outside to do anything, I either get bit in the hands or the ankles with fire ants. It's only about the size of a grain of ground pepper, but they'll leave a welt on my ankles or hand the size of a large pimple. And I tell you that if you are afraid of insects, alligators, reptiles, lizards, palmetto bugs, which that's just a fancy way of calling a 2-inch cockroach a palmetto bug, Florida's probably not the place you're going to stay. So that's part of the reason that people have moved to Florida and then said, you know what, we're not staying here, we're moving back home. Reason number 4 that people are moving back to where they came from is because they just can't handle the emotional stress of being here on Christmas Day and their kids and grandkids aren't with them. They just don't enjoy the fact that they're here on Thanksgiving Day and there's not the tradition that they're used to for most of their life. They're just not satisfied to not anticipate the kids coming over for Christmas Eve dinner or for Easter dinner. They are heartbroken that they can't be at the dance recital, they can't be at the musical recital, they can't be at the all-state events of athletics or whatever that their grandkids are in. So many of them who have enjoyed a year or so here, are moving back because the emotional stress of separation from family and loved ones is just too much. Take it seriously. Look it over carefully, but it's one of the reasons that many people are saying, I'm not going to stay in Florida. I'll come down as a snowbird, but I'm not going to live there. Reason number 5 that people move out of Florida is because tourism drives them crazy. They're irritated by the longer lines in the grocery store, longer lines in the lanes of traffic, longer lines in the parking lot waiting to get into the nicest beaches, longer lines and more difficulty getting restaurant reservations. They just don't figure that it's worth it. Tourism is just a wonderful, wonderful thing here in Florida. And one of the ways to get over the sting of tourism is to realize that it's because of the tourists that we have less expenses when it comes to taxes than many other states. It's the reason why there's no state income tax, because the tourists put so much money into the economy that our governors at the state, county, and local levels have been able to find a way around it. So if you can get by that fact, then you kind of welcome the tourism and say, thanks for paying my bills. But if you can't, you just pack up and say, nope, no more for me. I'm going back to where I came from. Believe it or not, the cost of living is one of the reasons that some Northerners who became Floridians lived here for a year or 2 or 3 and then said, you know, I'm going back home because the cost of living in Florida is higher than what I was used to back home. So my friend, if you're going to move down to Florida, you need to seriously consider doing your research and setting up mock ledgers. Do you realize that car insurance is going to cost you more down here probably than the state you're in? There are very few states higher insurance rates than Florida. If you get your Medicare in Florida, I pay $60 a month more because I registered for Medicare in Florida than my wife who registered for her Medicare in New Jersey. Gasoline. Florida is not the cheapest place in the nation to buy gasoline, but you're going to buy a lot of gasoline to get around here. And so cost of living. When the grocery stores are used to tourists being in town, do you think they put the prices more with residents in mind who are going to shop harder than tourists who don't care because they're on vacation? So groceries and gas and car insurance, you need to know what it's going to be. What is your income while you're working, and what's it going to be when you're not working? What's the cost of living going to be down here? What's your car insurance going to be, et cetera, et cetera. Do your research, do your homework. The fact is, many people who were short-term Florida residents cashed in their Florida plates and moved back home because of the cost of living. Reason number 7 is politics. Florida is a swing state. So you get the donkeys and you get the elephants. You get the reds and the blues. And there's a lot of differences of opinion, as you can well imagine. And now that you've got 1,000 people a day, 360,000 a year moving in to the state, you can just imagine no one really knows which way the pendulum's going to swing. But politics. Many people get fed up with the fact that at present, the Conservative Party runs the state. One of the guys responded to my YouTube channel just this past week and said, forget Florida, get out, don't think of going there, especially down in that area where you've got the Republicans are running the county and the Republicans are running the state and they're ultra conservative. You just get out and stay out. He was obviously not in mind. He didn't like it. So what did he do? He says, I'm out of here. I don't know what your plans are. I don't know where you are now or what you're thinking of doing, but I do know this. If you are thinking of moving to Florida, know this. Yes, a string of people socially distanced 6 feet apart down the road 410 miles are moving in, but a lot of them are moving back out. Decide for yourself, save yourself some time, energy, frustration, and money by deciding through research before you get here, what do I want, and am I going to stay there? This is Brent Haggerty, Gulf Premier Sarasota. If I could help you answer some questions, help you find some real estate, maybe help you find some short-term rentals while you're looking to decide if you are going to be here, it would be my delight to do so. So my contact information, phone number, website, and email is all there. I hope that you'll give me a call, and I hope that you'll hit those notification buttons, because next Tuesday at 6 a.m. you can expect to see another post on a topic that, if you send me enough of the same repetitious question on a theme, I promise you I will develop a YouTube production and research it to answer your questions. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.